Anybody here can get it. Treat the game like a scrimmage now. Master B with the flow. I swear nigga got no limits now. I've been ballin' for a minute. Whole team full of winners. Anybody here can get it. You tuned into the realest now. Anybody here can get it. Treat the game like a scrimmage now. Master B with the flow. I swear nigga got no limits now.
All right, team. Off the platform, I've lost track of the episodes. We're somewhere in the 20s. It's obviously Jackson and Greg. How are you, Greg?
Yeah, what's up, man? I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, very, very good. We've got a special guest on today, Mr. Blaine Sumner. How are you, sir?
Doing great, thank you.
The Vanilla Gorilla.
The Vanilla Gorilla, the one and only.
Exactly.
I've seen a few people try and take that name on Instagram. Do they have to pay you like royalties or something for that?
Yeah, a couple bucks a post. It works.
Yeah, easy. So how you doing? So you're in Wyoming, yeah?
Yep.
Nice. I see you do a lot of like ice fishing. Do you go up to Alaska for that, or is that around home?
No, we have ice fishing here around home.
That's sick. Is it? You must be a patient man.
I love it, so it's no problem being patient for it.
It's chill. It's cool. What sort of like fish do you catch doing that? Because we have nothing like that here.
Oh, pike, walleye, bass.
And how big do they get?
The pike are the biggest ones. They get up to 20 or 25 pounds. Is a big one.
Decent. Yeah, yeah.
Do they end up in the blender, Blaine, as well?
Everyone makes that joke. I have yet to blend up a fish though.
It's some original content, Greg.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of. Yeah.
So yeah, what's holding you back from that one?
Just the pain in the butt to clean the fish. I just let them go and then get back to fishing.
Nice. Yeah, fair. Oh, so catch and release. That's it.
Yep.
Nice. So for people who aren't aware, Blaine is renowned for the chicken shake.
Chicken shake, yeah. We had some people ask questions about that.
Yeah, that's probably the number one thing. When I told people that we were interviewing Blaine Sumner, they were like, ask him about the chicken shakes. How many of those do you go through a day? Is it? I watch you on Instagram, probably 8 or so.
Yep, I do 8 a day.
8 a day. So what's the recipe here?
So the ingredients are just chicken, water, sometimes spinach. For my fats, I'll either do olive oil or almonds, and then for the carbs, I do usually rice, sometimes potatoes. But in terms of the amounts, I just figure out what I need to, whatever my goals are, either to maintain weight or increase my weight, and figure out how many calories a day I need, and then generally divide it up by 8, and then just do 8 shakes. Right now they're about 1,000 calories each, so about 8,000 calories a day.
Damn.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. I feel your pain. I'm not man enough to blend up my food. I've done like just over 6,000 calories a day, but like I eat it. So, but I'm definitely tempted. Yeah. So I noticed there was never lose weight in there. That's great. That's mint. So it's always maintain or gain. There's no diet. That's good.
That's right. Permabulk
Life.
Permabulk, yeah. Just for the folks out there who maybe aren't up to the play with what Blaine's achieved over the years. So
living under a rock.
You've been lifting. Yeah, we say that about every guest, don't we? Blaine, you've been competing since 2006. So you're heading towards 15 years, give or take, now of lifting.
Yep.
That's amazing. I mean, in a sport that can spit people out in 2 or 3 years, or they just lose interest, really. You've basically maintained and stayed at the very top now for that 15 years, give or take. Obviously, probably a little bit of building up in the early days, but definitely number one these days. So in terms of lifts, Blaine's biggest lifts, let's go through the single ply first. So 515 kilos. And for our US listeners, 1135.4 pounds, a bench of 455 kilos, just shy of 1,003 pounds, a 370 kilo deadlift, which were about 815, and a 1296 kilo, or just 2857 pounds. So Blaine, you've also got some lifts in raw as well, but it's not your preferred category, is it?
No, the last couple of years it has not been.
No. Is that Is that just because you don't like it, or from an injury point of view?
More injury. When I first started out, I liked raw lifting a lot more, and I got frustrated with the gear. I didn't like the gear because the guys I was competing against were a lot better than me with it, even though I knew I was stronger than them. But tearing my hip labrums is what eventually kind of forced me to retire from raw lifts, because I could do squats in the suit with much less pain, and raw squats. I mean, I can't get really through a training cycle without having some severe hip pain.
That's interesting that basically a fabric. It's a thick fabric, nonetheless, but a fabric is protecting or supporting that lift, and you're lifting some insane weights. So, what brand of suit do you typically use?
I use Titan.
Excellent. And you find that it just supports those hip injury, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the compression or the suit giving you kind of something to wedge yourself against or push against, but the pain is much, much less.
Nice. Okay. So Blaine, and for the listeners, well, not for Blaine so much, but for the listeners, 2019, I'm just reading off your Wikipedia page, mate. It's brilliant. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's quite comprehensive. 2019, 2016 IPF Open World Super Heavyweight Champion, first American male to win the gold medal in the IPF Classic World Championships, 2012. 2012, 2015, 2016, 2018, 2019 US APL Super Heavyweight Equipped Champion and Champion of Champions across all weight classes in 4 of those 5 years. So 28 world records in the classic squat, classic total, equipped squat, equipped bench, equipped total, 13 national champion, 13 national champs, set 42 American records in the raw classic squat, raw total, equipped squat, equipped bench press. This is exhausting reading this list, mate.
I was gonna say you're out of breath.
I know. But it's just there's so many achievements here. I just want people to really appreciate exactly what Blaine's achieved over the years. I think one of the most impressive ones, anyway, Blaine, is that number one or highest single ply total across all federations, including the untested. That is an amazing feat, given what some of these guys have achieved in other federations. What is your proudest achievement in the sport so far?
I would say either that 515 kilogram squat or the 455 kilogram bench press.
Yeah, it's got a 1,000-pound bench. Like, you walk into like your local pub. Hey, you lift a few weights. What do you bench? 1,000 pounds. Does someone still try and say like that they haven't a distant relative that benches more than you that barely lifts?
Oh, Michael did 1,100 pounds. Yeah, that story.
No, that stuff kind of stopped. I mean, obviously I'm doing single ply with those numbers, but that stuff kind of stopped when my bench got, I'd say around 700. But it was still funny. Like, when I was doing maybe low to mid 600 pounds. So like, 290 to 300 kilograms. Sometimes some guy at work or wherever would be like, oh, I had a cousin and wherever that benched a little more than that. I was like, oh, okay, there's like 5 dudes that have done that.
Yeah,
probably not related to them.
Yeah, there's like 3 people and I know them all by first name basis, so pretty sure it's not your cousin.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, this is some. I remember when I first started lifting. 2010, but and you were at the top of the game. Everyone wanted to be Blaine. How do you even stay at the top that long? How do you stay at the top that long? Because that's one of the biggest things these days is people come and go.
Yeah, it's tough. I definitely say it's harder staying at the top than getting to the top. But thinking back, I'd say the biggest thing is like not resting on your laurels and never being satisfied. Like no matter what event I just won or what weight I just lifted, is never enough. I'm always like, even my biggest lifts and the biggest world championships, it's like I'm happy for a couple hours and then I'm like, man, how can I do better? How can I do more? So I guess just never being satisfied.
Have you? I know from watching your videos and stuff, you usually train by yourself or with your wife at home. Have you ever had training partners along the way? Or
Yeah, so before I moved to Wyoming, I lived in Oklahoma for about 6 or 7 years, and I had kind of one guy that would help me on squats and one guy that would help me on bench. And then since I moved to Wyoming, so sometimes I'd have a guy come in to help me on bench, but I'd say the vast majority of the training is just myself or my wife with me.
Blaine, I've seen some pretty hairy escapes from the bar. You've got a philosophy that you don't fear that weight, do you?
Nope.
No. And you've got a little setup. What's your setup at home that saves you from some of these or saves you from some of these big weights when they go wrong?
So the first thing I did, this was probably, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, maybe more. I just had these like spotting boxes, platforms built that fit on the side of my rack. And I set them at a height that's right at or just below my bottom range of motion. Those have helped me a few times, but after I sliced my arm open, if they've seen that video, I came up with a contraption that's kind of overhead, and it's kind of like a seatbelt mechanism that attaches to the end of the bar, and it'll let me travel downwards freely. But as soon as I reverse the weight and come up, it's like a ratcheting system. Like if you pull a seatbelt out all the way, and it can come back, but it can't go back out. So that's what I kind of came up with about 2 years ago, and to help avoid cutting any arms off or anything.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever touched on this as well, but there's been no temptation to use, say, a monolift.
There has. I mean, I'm dealing with a pretty bad back injury going on a year now, but after my last Arnold, it's been a big temptation to do monolift and multi-ply where you can squat higher, and the depth that's required a lot of times in the IPF. And yeah, I don't mean it as like a dagger, but sometimes
it's all right. It makes us laugh.
The depth that they require at some of these IPF and USAPL meets is dangerous, and that's I've hurt myself a lot of times in training and at meets, trying to get to that depth.
I've heard that actually mentioned a few times. I mean, obviously there is the hard and fast. Well, I say hard and fast, but there is the rule around depth. But there has been mention that the IPF at times have taken that a step beyond. Take it if they've gone to an extreme length or extreme depth. Do you have any thoughts on that or any comments on that?
Yeah, I can definitely say I agree with that, and also that it can definitely be inconsistent. I know I've done the same squats in many meets where sometimes I'll get 3 white lights and the next time I'll get 3 red lights, and comparing them on video, they're the same type of squats, so that it makes it hard to prepare and it makes it hard to compete. With that kind of weight, just trying to sink it another couple centimeters or another inch or two can get pretty dangerous.
Yeah. What do you think is the answer? I mean, obviously it's not just a problem that faces the IPF. Obviously you've got the multiply feds where it's too high. Is there an answer to achieving the perfect depth every time? Do we almost take out the human element, or is that part of the appeal?
I was going to say, as long as the human element is there, I think there will always be this issue. Like in baseball, they started using some kind of technology that detects a strike zone. So, really the ideal way to do it would be some kind of live X-ray where you could see the femur bone, and when it breaks parallel, you're good.
Yeah, I've seen that mentioned as well. But I mean, it's not necessarily in the rule book, but people have mentioned once that femur bone breaks, as you say, breaks parallel by even 2 to 3 degrees, that's effectively depth, isn't it? So but of course, and I do know from personal experience, Jackson, you'll probably find the same thing. The bigger the individual, often the more difficult it is to tell when depth has been hit, because obviously there's the compression of the body, and the thigh, blends in with the hip, blends in with the torso, and you've almost got to imagine where that top of the thigh, does end, because it's just a big compressed mass.
Exactly.
Do you think that obviously, you considered a monolift. Do you think, it's one of those things that it's been talked about before, that the safety of, because as a meet director, for me, I always make sure that I have an experienced spot load crew, they're always big, strong dudes because the safety of the lifter is almost paramount, really. So do you think things could be improved in that respect? Like you say with a monolift, or like if they do implement, say, your seatbelt design in competition?
That's a tough one. You know, the monolift, sometimes it seems safer, but it also poses extra risks. I mean, just how equipped lifting in some senses is more dangerous than raw lifting because you're handling a lot more weight.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing with monolift. I mean, if people are using the monolift, then they're going to be doing more weight. And if it's a weight that you wouldn't be able to walk out and get set up with, if things start to go wrong when you're squatting it, you know, they can go bad fast. The strap kind of spotting mechanism on the monoliths is pretty good. But a good spotting crew is the best answer, honestly.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I mean, but even something as simple like you say about your, like, the blocks that you have, it's one thing I've always thought about is how to improve, because as a lifter, it's fucking scary, you know, like, and shit goes wrong quick. Like, even if you've got the best spot load crew in the world, if you hit your knee in the wrong spot or whatever, and you go down, they don't catch it. I mean,
I can't see someone catching 515 kilos.
No.
If Blaine's in the hole, if Blaine's in the hole and something goes wrong, and they're obviously they're down deep in the hole as well, and 515 goes forward or backwards. Yeah, I'd hate to think what would happen. Blaine, have you been caught out? Have you ever lost a lift at the bottom, or does it typically happen at the top, or not at all?
Yeah, I've lost lifts at the bottom in gear, not because of the strength, but so something weird happens with the 20 kilogram bars. For me, it starts to happen around 455 kilos or 475 kilos maybe. The bar starts to, it doesn't whip up and down, it oscillates back and forth because where the weights are, it's so far below, because of the bend, it's so far below the center of gravity. It starts to do this like oscillation back and forth. So like when I'm going down, it's not whipping up and down, it's throwing me back and forth, like kind of like using the bamboo bar. And if I don't, you know, I have to time it right to come back up. So there's been times where I'm going down and I think I need to get another couple centimeters to get depth. And if that oscillation hits me just right, it'll just, I mean,
that's it,
throw me off.
Have you tried you mentioned the 20 kilo bar? Have you tried a 30 kilo bar? Does that make much of a difference? I know you can't use it in competition, obviously.
I've never tried one. It would make a difference though.
Yeah. I mean, we've got, personally, I have a Goliath squat bar. It says 25, but we've had, what have we had on that? We've had like 420, and it's dead straight as an arrow.
Really? The extra 5 kilos, eh?
Yeah. 420, there's no, it's 100% straight. Whereas we've got power bars that bend at obviously like 260, 300, you know. But it's one of those things that's in the rule book, so you got to train how you compete, I suppose.
Yeah.
You said, Blaine, that the temptation's there to have a crack at multiply and longer wraps and a mono and stuff. Do you think you would ever do it?
Right now, I'm just trying to get my back healthy, but I don't know. Honestly, for the last maybe 2 years, the temptation has been there because I feel like my numbers in the IPF are limited by the equipment. Like it's so dangerous to be squatting 500 kilos with a bar like that and walking it out. And I mean, just the being able to cut my squat a few centimeters higher it's so much healthier for my hips and my back. So it's been a temptation. But yeah.
And I mean, if you don't want to answer, it's entirely fine. But is obviously going to that side of things, would the temptation be there to go untested as well? Because obviously that would help recovery, etc.
Yeah, if I did, I would want to dip my toes in it first and see how I liked it. Obviously, if I did something like that, just reputation wise, it would not be well received in the IPF. But if I did go the untested route, then I wouldn't ever be able to go back. So I guess it would be something where I try it out, see if I like the mono lift and
Mm.
the multi-ply gear. And 'cause I don't have anything, morally against untested. I don't believe that people should compete in the IPF while they're
100%.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100% agree. There's nothing. Very similar opinion. There's untested options there where it's not cheating, so go and do it. That's the thing. And I mean, for you, so I mean, you're 33.
33 now, eh?
Yep.
You had to think about that for a second, didn't you?
I had to think about
wait till you get to 40. You've got no idea what it is. So somewhere between 40 and 50. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone's like, "How old are you?" 40. It's fine.
40-ish.
You're 40 for 10 years. I suppose it's one of those things. As you get older, if you want to keep progressing, the sacrifices have to be made, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any temptation, Blaine, to compete against the likes of Dan Bell? I see the two of you have the odd conversation on Instagram. Are you friends outside of social media? Have you met each other in person?
No, I actually haven't met a lot of these people because I live in Wyoming, which is in the middle of nowhere. There's no other big time powerlifters around, so just know them on social media.
Okay, so
it's like New Zealand.
Yeah, I think Wyoming's
middle of fucking nowhere.
We're in the middle of nowhere in the world. Yeah. I'm sure that a lot of the fans out there would love to see you compete against some of the likes of Dan Bell and people like that. Has there been an invitation? I know of late anyway. There's been a lot of talk, and I listened to King of the Lifts as well with Six Pack and a lot of the IPF lifters of late. Anyway, because of the lack of competition, have considered competitions like the Kern and like the Showdown, but of course they risk the very real likelihood of being suspended. Do you think the lack of competition, because the Worlds is not, I believe Worlds is not happening this year, is that confirmed? There's no American team going to Worlds, and where is it, Belarus, or is that, we got the right?
Yeah, I think it was in Belarus. I'm honestly not sure about the Raw. I think there's a equipped world championships going on this year though.
Oh, there is still. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
because there was talk of obviously combining the events, because if I think they were going to remove the junior world champs, I think was going to be in Belarus. Jackson, do you know much about this?
No, I know that they're not sending a junior team.
Yeah, I think it was because it was in Belarus, and they couldn't guarantee safety, and yeah, I mean, for the life of me, I'm thinking, well, why have it in Belarus? But I guess that's just probably one of the rules of the sport, isn't it? With the IPF, they mix and mingle the countries. I guess it must be some contractual thing that they've committed to.
Yeah, they let a couple countries bid on. I don't know what it entails, but they bid on it, like show them, what the venue will look like, what the travel and hosting will look like, and then they award it based off that.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, powerlifting, no matter the federation, is very Eurocentric. It's all very European.
Yeah.
No matter if it's IPF or WRPF or whatever Fed does, it's all very European centric.
Oh, is that still the case in the US? So I think the US is very strong with powerlifting.
100%. Yeah, well, they are, but I mean, we're talking about the IPF as in the International Federation.
Yeah.
It's all still in Europe.
Blaine, do you know, is IPF more slated towards Europe or US, or is it kind of like it's a mixed bag? It's quite equal.
I would for sure say Europe.
Okay.
Since Raw has really taken over the last 5 or whatever years, it seems like the best lifters are now coming out of the US, which was never the case when it was equipped. But like you go to world meets and everything, and it's almost all like European influenced, and they're all usually in European countries.
Yeah. Now, Blaine, I was going through Open Powerlifting, the Bible, a source of all knowledge in powerlifting. You have been religious in competing. I think I counted no more. I mean, give or take 3 to 5, even 6 times per year. That's correct.
Yep.
That's crazy. Okay, so what's people tend to. There's often a trend anyway at the elite level to maybe do 1 or 2 meets per year. But you're obviously bucking that trend and thought, no, hell to it. I'm going to go and compete as much as I can. Any reason or rationale behind that one as well? What motivates you to do that?
I guess I was never influenced getting into the sport. I was never influenced by people thinking that you should only compete once or twice a year. I'd always played regular sports growing up and through college. So like the demands of competing didn't seem like it was that much. And then when I got into the sport, I was really trying to do raw and equipped at the same time. So, I would do raw nationals and equipped nationals and raw worlds and equipped worlds and then some invitational meets. So I guess I just got in the habit of competing that often and never thought it was a big deal.
And
six times a year. I'd fuck that. I'm too lazy for that shit, man.
I don't know if it was 6 times.
Even 5, bro. 5 is like, that's ludicrous.
1, 2, 3.
Put me down for 1.
5. Yeah, I mean 2015.
2.
Blaine did 5 times. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times in 2016. Just twice in 2017.
Slack.
Yeah, just slacking off there.
Slack.
And then 4 times in 2018. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then another 5 times 2019. And then 2020 for some reason it gets a bit light. Just the one event in March. That must have really. How did that affect you, Blaine? Not being able to compete in 2020.
Very strange. I mean, the timing of COVID was very weird because, they had the Arnold, and the Arnold was very dramatic because all the athletes were out there, all the vendors were out there, and then like a few days before they started changing everything. First, they said that the entire event was totally canceled, and then they said no, they're still going to have bodybuilding but no fans. And then they eventually they allowed all the other sports and athletes to compete, but with no expo. So, it was like by the hour, they were just changing the rules because we were still learning so much about the pandemic. So we were able to compete instead of being on the big platform in the main expo arena with tons of audience. There was, it was like a back corner. It was kind of weird, but, I had a great meet and actually hurt my back at that meet pretty bad. So the timing's been kind of fortunate with no other meets really going on since the pandemic.
What happened with the back? What was the injury there?
Yeah, I was going to say, so I saw in your deadlift in that meet, you opened at 225.
Yeah.
Kilos, so it's 495 and then jumped to 335.
Yep. So I've always had since like 2008, I've had a ruptured L5 S1 disc and really just learned to manage it and deal with it. But on the 515 kilo squat there at the Arnold, I really hurt it. And I thought it was the same normal tweak that I had normally done. So that's why I opened the deadlift so light, just to secure the squat and bench press world records. And then as the few weeks and months went on, I could tell something different in my back. So long story short, actually, I haven't really said anything, but a few weeks ago, I got a bone scan result back and I have a fracture in my L5 vertebrae. So
wow.
that happened on that 515 kilo squat.
So you broke your back and it's been broken since?
Yep.
Oh boy. How good.
So what happens when you break a vertebrae? Obviously it doesn't heal quickly or at all, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it's a really crappy place because, they can't put a cast on it or anything. And so, the only way to heal a broken bone is to totally protect it and not allow it to do anything. Well, the spine, you can't really do that with. So what I've been trying to do is just kind of make up exercises that don't put any load on my back. And like doing everything, like laying on the bench with no sort of compression on my back.
Yeah, your Instagram at the moment is one of like, I understand what you're doing, but it's one of the most hilarious things to watch. Like, just this massive dude trying to figure out how to like train but not stress his back. Like lying on the bench doing like bicep curls and like a chest fly. And I mean, you've got a decent setup at home though to be able to do all of that. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's like, it comes up and it's like deadlift day and it's like a shrug, a leg curl. And I'm like, where's the deadlifts, bro? Where's the, but I suppose you can't because you just got to just hang out. So what do they reckon on that, like recovery wise?
So I had done 3 months of kind of training how I am now, like no loading of any kind. And I actually got the bone scan done after that, and it still wasn't healed. So there's not any like hard or fast rules on it'll be healed at this point. So or like any time duration. I mean, the longer the better. So it's pretty frustrating.
I guess, Blaine, you're I don't know if restricted, because I'm not too sure exactly what's on the wider list, but if you looked at all the kind of experimental or on the fringe anyway, types of drugs potentially, or peptides, or I don't know, what else can they inject into to the spine to heal it? There must be some pretty out there remedies.
Yes, I haven't really looked at I guess drugs per se, but one thing I've looked at pretty seriously is stem cells.
Stem cells. That's what I was thinking. That's what I was trying to remember. Yep.
There's a place in Colombia called Bio Accelerator, and there's been a
Jesus,
bunch
Colombia.
of
There's lots of places in Colombia, man. You sure it's stem cells?
Yeah. So there's been a ton of like big name professional athletes and MMA fighters, and
is that right?
Like Ed Cohn has gone down there.
Yeah.
Nick Best, and they've said really good things, but I had a consultation with them, and unfortunately the stem cells, according to them, don't really they're good for soft tissue, but in terms of healing bone, it's not something that they consider successful.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it seems bone is like you just you can't, like it's one of those things that soft tissue, yeah, you can get rid of inflammation and collagen, and you can use PRP and stem cells and stuff to regrow it, but bone's just time.
Because
Exactly.
you replace your skeleton every, is it 7 years? Did I get that fact right? You get a brand new skeleton every 7 years.
Hang on, Greg. What the fuck is this? This is a Powerlifting podcast, mate.
Oh, getting a bit deep now, aren't we? Yeah. I'm just trying to equate that time cycle to the repair of the bone. So if it's naturally going to repair, would it take 7 years? Not that Blaine's going to want to hear that. But
is this your fun fact of the day?
This is just
I've never heard this.
Have you never heard this?
No.
Yeah. No, it's like you get a brand new, you get your skin obviously regenerates. Actually, my wife would know. How often do you regrow bone when you get a brand new skeleton? Okay, she doesn't know. All right, never mind. Okay, forget that. I'm pretty sure though, the cells in your bone, are completely replaced within 7 years.
Blaine, so when you're 40.
Yeah, sorry, man. When you're 40.
Awesome.
Thanks, big comeback. Greg. Yeah. Just keep that Instagram going for another 7 years, man.
Dr. Greg said so.
All right, someone's going to tell me I'm full of shit, so I'll wait for that.
I reckon add some extra, chicken necks or something to your shake. Get extra collagen in there, you'll be right.
Collagen.
Yeah, that might do the trick.
Yeah,
that's the secret. Chicken feet. No, they reckon that's a thing, eh? If you get like the organs and stuff of meat, have you ever tried that, or do you just do chicken breast?
Yeah, just chicken breast, no organs.
It's not that hard up yet, mate. Yeah. Now, Blaine, do you make a living out of powerlifting? I know you sponsor it, but do you take part in meets with cash prizes?
Not major cash prizes. I do some online training, and I have a website, and I actually have some cool new things coming out the next few weeks. But no, I have a kind of a career outside of powerlifting.
Excellent. And I see coming up, you've got Strength Wars. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was cool. I don't know why they picked me, but I'm glad they did represent powerlifting. But they took eight kind of either strength athletes or Instagram strength athletes and had us compete. So guys like Jerry Pritchett, Larry Wheels are probably the more recognized names. And it's kind of a blend of like CrossFit / strongman, and it was pretty brutal. But we competed over like 3 days and had a tournament to determine the winner, and it'll come out here next week.
Nice. Yeah.
Is that coming out as a movie or a series or like a?
Yep, it'll be a movie.
Oh yeah, that's sick, man. Yeah, I've seen the trailer that you've been posting. It looks dope.
Yeah, it's cool.
What platform is that coming out on, Blaine? Do you know? Do you know if we're going to be able to get it outside of the US?
I would imagine so, but I don't know. It's on like Google Play and iTunes Store.
Okay, yeah. I guess if they don't restrict it by country, Jackson, we should be able to get it.
Yeah, so it's probably just under off the platform, just on the list.
Just under the list here.
If you search powerlifting, they'll be number 9 and we're number 8. You know?
Exactly, yeah. Blaine, where do you you've obviously been in the sport now for a long time, eh? Have you seen great many changes, eh? Where do you think powerlifting's going? Like, where do you think it should go? You know, where do you see things in 5-10 years?
I guess where do I think it should go and where it will go are two different questions.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
You know, I think equipped powerlifting is going to continue to kind of fade out, and raw is going to continue to. I don't know if the total competitors will grow, but I think the popularity of raw will continue to take over, just because what I've seen with equipped in the US at least is the people that are still doing the equipped nationals, at least on the USAPL type stuff, are vast majority guys that have been around for a long time, like myself, and have been in the gear for a long time. Because at the grassroots and the local level, it's so hard for people to get into gear because you know, people aren't going to jump in gear and then go to nationals for their first meet. People do local and regional meets first, but you know, 99.9% of the lifters at those meets are raw. You see so many more people training like without a crew and at not like a powerlifting gym, kind of how it used to be. So just the exposure to the gear and having people that can help and know what they're doing is just kind of dwindling out, I think, which is kind of sad to see, but that's where I see the sport going.
Do you get many, because you do coaching yourself, don't you?
Yep.
Do you get any people, young people anyway, young guys and girls asking about lifting and gear?
Actually, yeah. I mean, probably a higher, just obviously because of what I've competed in, a higher percentage of a sample of the total powerlifters, a higher percentage of those people that come to me are either getting into gear or kind of new with gear.
What would you say? Like, what would you say to somebody who shows an interest in gear? What sort of advice would you give them?
It's so tough because, you know, generally today people want to see results and success right away. And especially if you know, follow on Instagram, it's like every week or every month, there's some freak that you haven't heard of that's, you know, pushing ungodly amount of weight. With the gear, you'll never see that with the gear because it takes years and years and years to get good at. Yeah. So it definitely takes a special and different kind of individual that's willing to understand that, hey, this is going to be a marathon and not a sprint. And I might be a lot stronger than a lot of people, but it might take me 5 or 6 years until I'm beating those same people in gear, just because of how long it takes to get acclimated to it and really get good at it.
Do you tell people to become confident with lifting raw beforehand, or how soon would you introduce gear to, say, a new lifter?
Yeah, definitely not early. You know, I don't have like a hard number on gears, but I think someone should be training for strength and the power lifts for, you know, at least probably 3 to 4 to 5 years before taking the gear seriously.
And in terms of training protocols, what's your training protocol personally?
So when I'm getting ready for a meet in gear, I do pretty much all singles in gear, and usually around 85 to 90% each week, and stay pretty specific to the competition lifts. And then after doing singles in gear, I'll do more of a linear periodization type work. So like I might do equipped squats for singles, and then I'll do like safety bar squats for 5 sets of 5, and then good mornings for 3 sets of 5, and then maybe 1 or 2 more bodybuilding type exercises. And so generally in a meet prep, I'll stay with singles for all the equipped work, and then after that do, like I said, a linear periodization. So I'll start with higher reps, and as the meet gets closer, work my way down in reps, higher in weight, lower the volume.
So then for like a raw prep as such, would you still do the singles or just basically get rid of the equipped stuff and just treat it like a linear?
I would do pretty much everything the same, except for singles and gear would then become triples, doubles, and singles raw.
Right.
So on my like competition movements for raw, I usually don't go above 3. So,
Yep.
I would do like raw squat, a couple triples, and then I might do safety squat bar for sets of 5 or something.
Yeah. Nice. The I was just remembering on your Instagram the other day. So you actually had your 3rd drug test in a few months.
Yeah.
And then sad Russian fanboys, please use the comment section below for your weekly excuses why I waxed your boy by 100+ pounds at Worlds. Do you get a bit of shade from the Europeans and the Russians?
More the Russians rather than the Europeans. I would say I'm still, there's probably a lot of European fans, but obviously the haters affect you more than you pay attention to that more. So there's definitely some Europeans that aren't fans, but the Russians, I have a special, or at least my rival, him and his little crew, I have a special hate for.
And so are they trying to, like, what's their reason? Do they think that you're like not getting tested enough to beat their lads?
Pick any excuse you want, and they try to use that. So,
nice. I mean, we've all seen Icarus. So, like, I don't think it's you we need to worry about, to be fair.
Exactly.
Like, and I think
especially,
I was gonna say, especially they're testing you now, and you're sitting there doing like curls and press. Like, I haven't seen you do a squat in months.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing like curls and press downs. Like, what's the point?
Yep.
What's the point in testing you now?
Just take us through testing, Blaine, because I don't know if all our listeners are fully aware of what the regime is for tested elite athletes. So can you take us and introduce us to some of the thinking behind that and some of the protocols?
Yep. So there's kind of 2 buckets of testing. There's the USAPL and then the IPF one. I'm in the IPF bucket, which is, so we follow the WADA drug testing protocol, and I have to register myself on this thing called the Adams list. So I have to give my whereabouts, where I'm going to be every day, and provide an hour window every day of the year where I'm going to be for
every day.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't even know where I'm going to be tomorrow.
That's the problem. I mean, I think you get 3 misses and it counts as a failure. But
yeah.
Fortunately, I've been available for all of them. But
in terms of a miss, is that if they if you say, oh, I'm probably going to be home before lunch on this day, and they turn up and you're not there, that counts as a miss?
Yeah. So I think like in a situation like that, they have your phone number and they call you, and once they make contact with you, you have like an hour or something to meet up.
Right.
It's not
reasonable. Yeah. What about, Blaine, if you're on like a leave, you go on a vacation, as long as you state that you're going to be in X, Y, and Z state or country, that's allowable?
Yep.
And will they test you while you're on vacation, or will they just say, like, okay, that 3-week period is 2 week or 1 week, that's just exempt?
I've never been tested while I'm on vacation, but they sure can.
Yeah. Wow.
I imagine if Blaine was like, I'm going to Thailand for like 6 weeks, they'd probably fucking turn up, I reckon.
They'll probably send someone with them. Yeah.
Turn up at the airport on the way back,
There's absolutely no question that testing and protocols it's 100% effective, Blaine. I can't see any way to cheat that. Not saying that you would, but I can imagine that it's just impossible to not do exactly what's required of you.
Yeah. You read stuff and hear stuff on the internet, and I think if someone has been around for a year or 2 or 3, maybe there's ways to beat it, or maybe they can do something that they beat it. But if you've been around 10 plus years and you're tested in meets and out of meets for that long, that, I mean, like myself and Ray Williams and Brad Gillingham, I mean, guys like that, we get tested so much for years and years and years that I really don't think there's a way to beat it.
You're allowed to. I mean, what I mean, you're allowed to drink, aren't you? Yeah, alcohol's not on the WADA ban list, eh?
No, it's not.
Thank fuck for that. Jesus. Can you imagine Jackson, eh? Well, I can't drink either.
Yeah, can't do anything. So, I mean, I'm just that's sort of reminded me of it. But so in the States, obviously, some states have legalized. We had a referendum to do it here as well. Have legalized cannabis, but that's still on the WADA ban list, is it?
I'm not sure on that because I feel like it's changed. I know it used to be, and I don't know if it is anymore or not. I imagine it is, but I don't know for sure.
I feel like that would be a hard one to police, like a wee bit of a grey area. Like the law says, go have fun, do whatever. But then why does? I don't say it's a performance enhancer either. Maybe eating, but you know,
for a few more chicken shakes.
Yeah. You get the extra chicken shake in, so it helps recovery in that respect, I suppose.
There's also things that are banned in meats and out of meats. So that might be one where it's like maybe it's banned in meats but not out of meats. I'm not really sure, but there's.
Oh, I see. So there's two different lists.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I know we had someone here recently, and he got banned for he'd had a pre-workout that he got online, and it had something that was on the banned list. And he'd taken it without knowing, but that's it. You know, it's one of those things you got to be careful. Got to be very careful and very, like you say, you got to know what's what if you're going to be in that environment.
Blaine, that would. I mean, I can't admit you wouldn't do pre-workouts and concoctions like that, would you?
No, I'll take some caffeine, but not pre-workouts. You for sure see pre-workouts, at least based on what people say. You for sure see pre-workouts as like the number one cause of inadvertently failed drug tests.
Oh
yeah, they put fucking D-bol on my pre-workout, I swear. It always cracks me up.
It was my coach.
It cracks me up.
Now, Blaine, you've got quite a competitive history, even prior to powerlifting. Now, take us through that. What were you doing before powerlifting, and what got you into powerlifting?
Yeah, so I always did a bunch of different sports growing up. Like I wrestled as soon as I could walk, pretty much, and played football most of my whole life, American football. And then through high school, I did football, wrestling, lacrosse, and track and field. And then went to college or university to play football. Had a pretty good career there. Kind of tried to play in the professional league. Didn't quite make it. And still, during that whole time, I'd loved, like ever since high school, I loved lifting weights, just was addicted to it. But sports were kind of my main focus. And then when football got done after college, I wanted something to keep competing in. So it was pretty easy to transition to powerlifting.
Nice. Sorry, Jackson.
I was gonna say that the football scene in the States is obviously horrendously competitive. You made it to the combine?
Yeah, I had a couple pro days and had quite a few scouts.
Yeah, so literally on that cusp.
Yeah, and I came out of college in 2010, which the NFL was in a lockout that year, so it didn't make things easier because we weren't allowed to communicate with teams, and they weren't allowed to have the same type of workouts and tryouts that they generally do.
What was that for?
So the NFL players and the owners, it's called a collective bargaining agreement. It's pretty much a contract of how much each group gets, and they couldn't come up with a new contract, obviously, because the players wanted more money and the owners wanted more money. So since they couldn't come to an agreement, there was no contract for the league, essentially.
Oh wow!
So to just shut the door for any new players coming in.
Yeah, for a couple months that included the scouting and tryout period.
Dang, that's bad timing.
Yeah.
I mean, so obviously a few of the guys that you played football with made it.
Yep, because they still had like the NFL draft. So
yeah,
the guys that were like, the best of the best of the best, and all that, still got shots and still had a draft.
And so, sorry, what did you end up doing work-wise now, did you say?
So I went to school for petroleum engineering, and that's
Cool.
the industry that I work in now.
Cool. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose life would have been very, very different if you'd ended up in the NFL.
Yeah, very different.
Do you think you still would have come to powerlifting eventually? Or yeah, it's a hard one, I suppose, because it's a what if. But
yeah, I imagine that I would have. I certainly wouldn't have had the success in powerlifting that I did, but I probably would have eventually.
Do you think with powerlifting getting more? I mean, it's obviously not mainstream, but getting more and more mainstream. You know, there's they had some benching. I know TD and stuff were on like the ESPN app recently, and then the showdown's going to be on like primetime ESPN, like a debrief of it. And obviously, you can now make money off lifting on Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. So, do you think that we'll see more and more of those sort of the genetic elite come across to powerlifting?
I think you'll for sure see a larger talent pool come in.
Yeah.
But until there's like real money in powerlifting, which I don't know if there will ever be, I don't think you'll see a guy that could go to the NFL choose to go be a powerlifter instead.
Yeah.
We're talking difference between millions of dollars, aren't we? And maybe 20, 30 grand at a powerlifting meet.
Yep.
If you're lucky. Yeah.
If you're John Hack or Yuri Belkin or someone.
Yep.
Blaine, do you ever see the federations coming together? What do you see the future of the federation environment? I know the US it's pretty chaotic at times, isn't it?
It very, very chaotic. I could see some consolidation. I think that will happen, and I think it'll be good. I don't think there will ever be full unity, because you'll always have a division of people that want to compete drug-free against other people that are supposed to be drug-free. So I always think that the IPF and USAPL will always have a big stakehold. But I think kind of what we've seen, which is good and hopefully continues to happen, is a consolidation of the untested type federations. I mean, really the biggest division is tested and non-tested. So with those two divisions, if you can at least get everything to come together inside of those, that would be good. And I think we've seen more of it. Like the WRPF seems like it's kind of becoming the name of a lot of the bigger raw meets, and the USPA here is getting a lot bigger. IPL.
Sorry, you go.
No, I was gonna say you weren't tempted to spend was it $2.5 grand, Blaine, and sign up lifetime membership? Who was that? Was that USPA?
Yeah, no, USAPL.
That was the APL. Was that?
Yeah. No, I was not tempted to.
You get a nice jacket though.
Yeah.
The world's most expensive jacket. Well, it's actually it's probably not the world's most expensive jacket, but most expensive powerlifting jacket.
Powerlifting jacket, yeah.
You'd better spend it on a new bench shirt.
Yeah.
So what's next for you then, Blaine? Are you obviously just trying to heal the back and then see what happens, or?
Yep, that's exactly right.
So you plan on going back to the platform?
It'll depend on how this back behaves. To be honest, again, it's something that's been on my mind. I haven't really talked about, but since injuring my back at the Arnold and then the pandemic happening and having a lot more time to look back and think about what I've done and all that. I mean, sometimes it seems stupid, it's pretty insane to do those kind of squats and benches for, just personal pride. And I wouldn't change anything. And, even if there wasn't the penny involved, I would still do that because that's what drives me and motivates me. But to kind of, risk my life and long-term health and happiness for another record that doesn't have any money behind it or anything that would change my life for the positive. It does have me kind of weigh in those risks.
Is there, Blaine, is there life? You've got a fairly good life outside of powerlifting. I mean, I'm sure powerlifting's not the be all and end all for you.
Yeah. I mean, the last, outside of my family, the last 12 or so years, powerlifting has been the most important thing in my life. I mean, I enjoy it more than, my career or anything like that. But I do have a good life outside of it that would be a shame to ruin because I was trying to chase another record or something.
Yeah. I mean, at 33, you've got at least 10 years, if not more. I mean, we had Andy Bolton on a few days ago, and he's still chasing a deadlift record at 52. Can you see yourself still going for it in your 50s?
That's tough. I've thought about it. I kind of have a weird mindset where I'm like over the top, all aboard, or not. There's no like middle ground. So if it was something like chasing a master's record, or I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah. So it's just a case of wait and see, Wait and see what happens. See what happens with the back. I guess see what happens with the landscape, whether or not there is that temptation to potentially compete with another fed. I mean, I know there's a new bylaw now. Jackson, I don't know if you heard about this. The new.
Oh, dude, I saw it. I fucking almost threw my phone. I was like, what is the point in this?
The new bylaw that what's your take on that, Blaine? I know you IPF lifted, but is it fair that if you wanted to go and compete at another federation's meet, say the Showdown, do you think you should be banned or suspended?
Well, let me hold on for a sec. What's the new? Is there a new bylaw?
So the wording. I love this shit because I'm a fucking nerd. So the wording used to be that if you competed in a international meet that wasn't IPF affiliated or sanctioned, you could then not do an international IPF meet for 12 months. So effectively, so the show. I mean, this is where it comes into a grey area because the Showdown, there's no one traveling, so it's all American people doing it. So it's effectively not an international meet.
So formerly that was the rule, Jackson.
Formerly that was the rule, and now they've changed it.
Now they're saying, and even a national meet with another federation.
So if you do, so it's still if you do an international meet that's not sanctioned by the IPF, you can't do a regional, national, or international IPF meet. So basically, if you do a meet that's not sanctioned by the IPF that's recognized as like international, you can't do any IPF
What's
meet.
the criteria for international?
I assume it's just people from different countries competing.
So just anyone from another country. Yeah.
I assume.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't like that rule. I for sure don't like it, but I guess to play devil's advocate, I know the reason why it's there, and that's because the IPF's ultimate goal is to get into the Olympics.
Yeah.
As far-fetched as some people think it might be, I have no idea or not. I don't think that it will, honestly. I mean, Olympic lifting is already on the cusp, and Olympic lifting is a lot more appealing to that sport or to that organization than powerlifting. But anyway, that's the IPF's ultimate goal, is to get into the Olympics. And because of that, they have to follow this international sporting code that all the other sports have to. I mean, soccer, any other sport in the Olympics is going to have that same rule. So I think that's why that is why it exists. Again, I don't like it nor agree with it, but that's why it's there, I believe.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that applies to cricket, Jackson. I don't know if you're familiar with cricket, Blaine. But if you're in the national team, I know here in New Zealand, if you're in the national team, you can still play for the IPL.
They go over to the IP. It's called the IPL.
The IPL,
it's not the Powerlifting Federation.
No,
not
but
the Powerlifting Federation.
The Indian Premier League, which is pretty much a pay to play, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean they get paid millions. They get paid 7 figures to go over there and play, and then they can still come back and play for the national team here.
Yeah. Does that? What other sports, Blaine, have that role? You mentioned football, So, what's the equivalency in football?
Yes, soccer. I'm not sure, and I didn't know that about cricket. So I think there's something in there. I don't know if there's about drug testing or not, because I'm fairly certain that. Are you familiar with the AAU? It's the amateur athlete union.
I've heard of it.
It's-
Yeah.
So they have powerlifting, and it's very, very small, but it's
Mm.
drug tested. And I think that an individual can compete at like an AAU international event, and still be fine in the IPF.
I think
I'm really not sure.
Is cricket at the Olympics? No.
No.
So
Oh.
that's irrelevant then.
Oh,
Because I know that boxing and stuff have it that basically it's only you know what I mean. It's only amateur boxers. Once you're a professional boxer and you're fighting for money, you can't go to the Olympics.
That could be the rationale then, yeah, because the Olympics is an amateur.
It's an amateur event.
So as soon as you go and compete in an event that's money paid, money prizes.
Well, I think but then
does that make you professional?
Yeah, but I mean the IPF have cash prizes for their national champs here.
I'm not sure though, because like basketball, they're the big time NBA basketball players.
Yeah, that's true.
Play the Olympics too. So
I think they have the
same
thing. The same thing with soccer. You're allowed like 3. I think it's 3. There's like a limit on how many players you can have that are professional players.
Okay.
Or something like along those lines. Which,
okay.
So I assume it's the same for basketball. I don't know. It's grey, man. It's grey.
Yeah. Look, anyway, I think it's actually worth looking into. I'm actually interested to know, because I can't imagine the rules just there out of spite, or we just don't want you competing anywhere else. There's got to be a rationale behind it. Be interesting to delve into that at some point to find out. Yeah.
The hard bit with that I don't agree with is that they say, it was international, and it used to be that you couldn't compete in international competitions. That's fine. You know what I mean? Because that's but now they're saying you can't compete in a regional competition. So they're almost micromanaging the regional bodies as such, if you know what I mean. They have it in the rule book that they're quite happy to let the regional bodies self-manage, but now they're micromanaging almost.
Yep. I for sure don't agree with that.
Yeah, that's the hard part, I think, where that it's but it is what it is. I mean, the lifters, you got to vote with their feet, they do what they do.
So I'm sure many of your fans, Blaine, would love to see you at the Kern, or at the Showdown. Tested or untested, your numbers would stack up, and you'd have a very good chance of taking those. I mean, you're stronger than, it doesn't matter what people are taking. You're stronger by far. So I don't know when the last time was that how close are your closest competitors now with competition? Are you neck and neck? Is it an exciting comp? Are we talking a matter of 5, 10, 15 kilos between you at times?
With my current competition, or
the current competition in the IPF, do you feel like is it there?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, the guy that's closest to me is the Russian, which
the Russian. Talk about the Russian.
If he has his very, very best day ever, and I go 3 for 9, it would be neck and neck. Like at Worlds this last year, I beat him by like 55 kilos or something. He still had like a PR day, but I beat him by 55 kilos. And so wow. I'll say no.
Yeah. So I'm sure your fans would love to see you up against, the very best the world can offer. But with these new bylaws, potentially that could be a little bit challenging, which is a shame.
I mean, do you look at the likes of like open powerlifting and stuff as like a competition as such? Or not really?
5 or 6 years ago, I probably would have, but since I've been so focused on the single ply stuff, I know everybody in my head and where they are, where their numbers are. So not really.
Because I saw a guy the other day. I follow him on Instagram as well. Jimmy Kolb.
Yeah.
He just did the single ply bench.
Yep.
I mean, obviously it's untested, etc., whatever. I know he claims drug-free anyway, but so I'd just say, well, why don't you go and compete against Blaine in the IPF then? But anyway, but like he's a fun lifter to watch, But I mean, so is that, he's taken the biggest single ply bench. Would that be the next thing that you sort of aim for to take back?
Not really, just because the single ply world is so dominated by the IPF.
Mm.
This is just my opinion. Like if someone wants to lift single, there's no competition in untested single ply.
No.
So if someone wants to lift single ply, why not do it in the IPF? Like there's no reason to not do it in the IPF if you're going to be single ply, because that's where, if you choose to lift single ply, that's where you'll get the most competition, the most notoriety, the most recognition from. So that I really only, and there's so many other equipment variables, like, you know, the bench bar, the bench pad, being able to have your feet up or not. So I really only pay attention to the IPF single ply stuff.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because if Blaine jumped into multi-ply, I'm looking at the multi-ply records here all the time, and he's automatically with his current lifts in single ply. Well, you are, Blaine, and you know, top 5. You know, you've got the Hoff with 1407, but you know, 3 down the list. AJ Roberts, 1295. So that's definitely ballpark for you. And these records date back 2013, 2012, 2011. So it's by no stretch of the imagination to suggest that, you know, Blaine, if you went into multi-ply tomorrow, lifting what you back obviously allowing, you know, you'd be the best in the world in the multi-ply space as well.
Yeah, that was kind of the temptation before I knew I had a serious problem with my back to chase that stuff.
Yeah. Because some of these guys, I mean, the Hoff 1407, you know, and hey, their squats are very high, but you know, jump into multiply and then create some real credibility around multiply again, because obviously, you know, by and large, it's that credibility is not there at the moment.
I want to see it. 14-10, I reckon, at least.
Yeah.
You know, it's got a nice ring to it. What's that in pounds, Greg? I fucking had my calculator, but
3,100. Yeah. So yeah. So
that'd be 3,100. That's dope.
So 3110, 3120, 3150. I think that's Blaine. Top of the list.
Yeah. You heard it here first. Predictions.
You guys just went from number 7 to number 5 on the powerlifting search.
Yeah, that's it. We're gonna top rank on Spotify.
I think add a 0 to the end of those numbers. Yeah. All right, Blaine. It's been an absolute pleasure, man. Any kind of shout outs before you want to go? You want to before you go, tell us about your coaching business and what you hope to achieve there as well.
Yeah. So I pretty much run everything through my Instagram. And then I got a website, blainesumner.com. And I've actually got 2 cool things coming out here in the next few weeks. The first is like a joint launch on a training app where
nice.
All my programs will be on the app. You know, I've always done everything through like emailing custom PDFs out. So this is really cool. All my programs will be on an app and you can track them on there. There's video demonstrations of them. And then I'll be launching like a online, I'm calling it Guerrilla University, just a bunch of educational technique videos.
Excellent. That launches in a couple of weeks, so on blainesumner.com.
Yep.
Nice. And you got all your typical coaching services as well. Do you do in-person coaching as well, or is it all remote?
It's all remote.
I can't imagine too many. Do you have many clients out where you are, or even in the general state?
No, even if I did, I wouldn't have time to do consistent in-person stuff.
No, fair enough too. And do you want to do a quick shout outs? Any shout outs to
shameless plugs? Yeah. Shameless plugs, bro. Get them in.
Yeah.
I honestly don't have any right now.
That's all good.
No shameless plugs to give.
Awesome.
All right, there we go. Not even for the missus.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for supporting me, babe. It's good. Oh well. Hey.
Excellent. All right, Blaine, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. All the best with the back. Really hope it comes right. All the best with that 3150 total in multiply that we've called it here first. And obviously all the best with the app coming out in a couple of weeks too. And look, I hope the new documentary too, the new movie, will be sure to plug that, Jackson, as well.
Strength Wars. I'm looking forward to watching it. It looks cool from the trailers, man.
Yeah. So that's next week, Next week on the 16th, I think, April 16th. Is that correct, Blaine?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, we'll check that out. Cool. So thanks again, man. We'll catch you later.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
thanks
See
for
ya.
your time.
Cheers, man. Catch you later.